So, you want to own a car wash. Here's the number nobody tells you before you sign the loan. On a basic exterior wash, the actual product cost, water, chemicals, electricity, can be under $2. You're charging $15. That sounds like one of the best margins in small business, and in a lot of cases, it actually is. But here's the twist. Most car washes don't fail because the wash is unprofitable. They fail because of what's sitting on top of that $10 gross profit before it ever reaches the owner's pocket. Today, we're breaking down exactly what it costs to own a car wash, what it actually pays, and whether the math holds up once every real expense is on the table. There are 3 main formats, and picking the wrong one is the first way people lose money before they've washed a single car. Self-service bays are the cheapest to open. Customers do the work themselves with a coin-op wand, so labor costs are close to zero. In-bay automatic is a single machine that pulls the car through. More capital, but faster throughput and less staffing. And express tunnel washes, the big drive-through operations you've probably seen with a line of cars outside, are the most expensive to build but by far the most profitable per location, because volume and memberships do the heavy lifting. The format you choose isn't a style preference, it's a completely different business with a completely different cost structure, a completely different break-even point, and a completely different ceiling on how much the business can actually make you. Let's talk about what it actually costs to get the doors open, because this is where most people underestimate the business by an order of magnitude. A self-service car wash, land, construction, and equipment included, generally runs between $150,000 and $400,000. Step up to in-bay automatic, and you're looking at $250,000 up to $700,000. Largely because of the machine itself. But the express tunnel format, the one with the real profit ceiling, typically costs $2.5 million to $7 million once land, construction, and top-tier equipment are all factored in. Land alone can eat $100,000 to $2 million of that, depending on the market. Most owners finance this through SBA loans, equipment leasing, or vendor financing that can cover the full cost of the machinery for a qualified operator. The uncomfortable truth is this: the format with the best long-term margins is also the format that locks up the most capital and the most risk before a single customer ever pulls in. Once it's built, the ongoing costs are where the business actually gets decided. Utilities, water, electricity, and the chemicals used in the wash itself can run anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on volume and location. Then there's labor. A self-service format barely needs staff, which is exactly why its margins look great on paper, but an express tunnel needs greeters, cashiers, and maintenance technicians, and labor is consistently the single biggest swing factor in whether a location hits a healthy margin or a mediocre one. On top of that, insurance, typically running around 1 to 2% of total sales, credit card processing fees eating another 2.5 to 3% of every non-cash transaction, and equipment maintenance, which experienced operators budget at 3 to 5% of annual revenue just to keep machines from becoming the reason the whole location shuts down for a week. None of these costs are dramatic on their own. Stacked together, they're the difference between the 87% gross margin on that $15 wash and the 20 to 40% net margin the owner actually walks away with. Here's the variable that decides whether all of that math even matters. Location. A car wash lives or dies on daily traffic count and how easy it is to get in and out of the site. Industry operators look specifically at annual average daily traffic alongside visibility from the road and low saturation of competing washes nearby. 2 identical buildings, same equipment, same pricing, can produce wildly different revenue purely because one sits on a busy corner with easy access and the other is tucked behind a shopping center people have to go out of their way to reach. This is also why the land cost we mentioned earlier varies so much. The best sites cost more specifically because that visibility and traffic is the single input the owner has the least ability to fix after the fact. You can renegotiate a chemical supplier. You cannot renegotiate where the building sits. This is the single biggest shift in car wash economics over the last decade, the membership model. Instead of relying on one-time customers who might come back in a month, top operators sell unlimited monthly wash plans, and members tend to wash 3 to 4 times a month compared to once or twice for a retail customer. In mature locations, memberships can represent 60 to 70% of total revenue, with gross margins on that subscription revenue running above 90% because the marginal cost of one more wash for an existing existing member is close to nothing. Picture 300 members paying $35 a month. That's over $10,000 in guaranteed monthly revenue before a single walk-up customer even pulls in. This is exactly why express tunnel operators with strong membership penetration are pulling ahead of the rest of the industry. They've converted a business that used to depend entirely on random daily traffic into one with a predictable, recurring revenue floor underneath it. So let's put the whole thing together. Self-service washes, the cheapest to open, tend to net somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 a year. In-bay automatics with strong traffic can produce annual profits around $250,000 or more. And a well-run express tunnel, the most expensive to build by far, can generate $500,000 to $900,000 a year in profit once it's mature, off of average annual revenue that can reach into the millions. Most new locations take somewhere between 2 and 4 years to break even, which is exactly why undercapitalized owners are the ones who fail. Not because the wash itself loses money, but because they run out of cash reserves in year 1 or 2, right before the membership base and the traffic pattern have had time to mature. The wash was never the risky part. The runway to get there was. So is owning a car wash actually worth it? If you can afford the format, survive the 2 to 4 year runway to break even, and land a site with real traffic, the numbers are genuinely some of the best you'll find in small business, especially once memberships kick in. But it is not a passive, set it and forget it investment, especially not in the first few years. It rewards patient capital and a good location far more than it rewards hustle. If you want the next breakdown in this series, let me know in the comments which business you want the real numbers on next. See you in the next one.